We're here on this beautiful fall day in New York City, particularly at Tudor City, and I am here with the esteemed attorney Justin Goldberg of Moses Singer. Thank you so much for joining me in my show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. We have a lot of things that we can talk about, but one of the first things that I remember that we talked about when we first met was something called PELP, which is the Planning Estates Law Project, right?
And what it is a program that helps underserved members of our community who may not have the resources to hire an attorney, and we help them with their administration needs. So they may have a bunch of documents and they don't know how to become executor or administrator and how to properly distribute their relatives' assets. There's actually a statutory order of what gets paid, and administration costs and debts would come first. So we sit down with them, we tell them the proper paperwork they need, and actually sit with them and fill out the paperwork so they can then go to the surrogate's court, which is where wills are probated.
I have a client who is sort of facing that very situation. She is the recognized PR, which, for those of us who don't know that term, that's the personal representative, and it's sort of like the executor, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So without a will, usually in New York, you would call it administrator. When there is a will, you're appointed an executor. But as an administrator, you have the full authority to act on behalf of the estate.
The building is not cooperating right now. The mortgages stopped being paid. Deceased husband was her husband, and that's absolutely recognized by the courts. So what would she do in that situation? She's not on the will, so and the gentleman died obviously intestate, which is what that means, right?
So intestate means no will, and unfortunately this can happen a lot. Where there's a delay in being appointed as administrator, executor for the estate. So there are a few options that somebody in her situation, a few options that she has. One is you first want to look into the estate to make sure there's no sources of liquidity anywhere else. You want to see if you could pull from sources to pay the arrears, income or assets, whether it be a brokerage account or liquidated stocks. She shouldn't really have to be pulling out of her own pocket. She should be looking to the estate, and second, she should be reaching out to the co-op board or whatever the relevant board is, because it benefits both parties to work out a deal and get the property sold.
I know that you also deal with high net individuals, right? What do you think are some of the basic things that you see come up again and again? And people in the first place should plan for that, which most people don't in the future, right? So they should come to you to start with.
You'd be surprised how many people don't plan, and then their descendants are left with a big tax bill.
Right.
And there's a famous story about how the Wrigleys had to sell part of the Cubs because they couldn't afford the estate tax bill. So especially if you have a large net worth, you're an ultra high net worth or high net worth individual, or a family with a closely held business, it's definitely important to reach out to a trusted estates attorney to see if there's a possible estate tax. That's important because if a lot of your assets are titled as joint tenant with right of survivorship, or tenancy by the entirety, then that does not pass through the will. That passes by what's called operation of law. And so you may say you want X amount of money to go to your grandchild, and you think it's going to come from a certain account. But if there's a named beneficiary on that account and it's not your grandchild, then that gift, and you don't have funding from other places in your estate, then that gift may never make it to where you want it to go, which is just a simple example.
Easy fixes if someone comes to see you first and make sure that, they do it right, which people don't always do. We understand that, but that's why we're here, to make sure that we give you some information and some value moving forward. And obviously, if you have a situation that's similar, you please come and see either Justin or call myself, and we will be glad to help you. I'm Robert Maier. I'm with Justin Goldberg, and you're in the right place.